peace. That's the magic word of Monday, because Trump has probably once again declared peace since the markets are pumping. Well, not quite. But Trump has once again announced some other crap, to which Iran ultimately responds by saying it's just market manipulation. Oh, these exchanges of blows. Sometimes they're actually funny. If it weren't about war, you could really think it's the biggest comedy show in the world. Let's take a look at all of this now. Bitcoin at $67,600. Last night, once again, they nicely took out the liquidity at the bottom, just like we discussed yesterday in the live stream, below 65K, and then immediately pumped it back up. I can already tell you now the wick will be taken. I know that's a phrase you hear on my channel over and over again, but that's just how it is. The wicks get taken, especially one like this during the Asia session with so little volume, which is already leading to rising prices again. I think it's going to be an exciting Monday. We're definitely going to take a look at all of this now. But before we get started, as always, feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, feel free to join the free Telegram talk and signal group. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, feel free to join. You'll find the link for it for free down in the video description. All right, let's get started. Bitcoin, as mentioned, at $67,600. The futures, well, let's say they're not really green. Stocks drop, oil up on fears of widening Iran war. There's not really much new, except that Trump wants to send, or is currently sending, more and more troops to the Middle East for now. And now, finally, and you really have to give him credit for this, he has finally spoken the words that this war is truly about. Just as President Trump says he wants to take the oil in Iran. Wow, that's just so surprising. This morning I thought, I can't believe it, seriously. But anyway, in any case, Trump wants the oil. Happy, happy surprise. And I thought the funniest news, well, I thought that was just more fake news. And that also fits if we take a look at the time around midnight. It's now 7:30 a.m. at the start of this recording, and after that, the pump started. And what wonderful thing did Trump say again at that moment? Trump provided the US with 20 large oil vessels to the Strait of Hormuz starting tomorrow morning. Yeah, exactly. And Iran counters with, where do we have it? Here it is. Iran, Speaker of the Parliament, provides trading advice to investors trading US markets. So the next thing will probably be a Telegram group or some other paid group from Iran. Pre-market so-called news or truth is often just a setup for profit taking. Basically, it's a reverse indicator. Do the opposite. If they pump it, short it. If they dump it, go long. See something tomorrow, you know the drill. I'm telling you, if it weren't for the fact that human lives are at stake here, at least in part, it would be an absolute global shit show between two countries. But anyway, Bitcoin is definitely at $67,600, while concerns continue to focus on oil and the bond market remains under pressure. JP Morgan and PIMCO say the bond market is underestimating the risk of a slowdown, and that's exactly what I've been telling you over and over again for the past few weeks. The bond markets, they're a bit out of control. The 2-year yields have now dropped a bit, again, after Trump. Once again, well, if we look at the time, I don't even know what to say about it anymore. They've smoothed out a bit for now, after Trump said, yeah, 20 oil tankers are passing through again. Sure, bro. The 10-year yields as well, at least the 5-year at 4% and the 10-year at 4.388%. At least they're going down a bit, which confirms my prediction. What I said yesterday afternoon in the Telegram group, that we'll probably see bond yields drop briefly on Monday before Iran drops something new again, or it all turns out to be fake news. And then everything goes back to the beginning again. The global bond markets are simply completely out of control, and that's probably not going to change anytime soon. 20 and 30-year bonds in Japan keep rising and rising, and that's not a good sign. Also in the EU, everything with interest rates is at 3.11%. So the markets are completely cooked at this point. Also, as I said, the oil price is currently getting all the focus. It's still over 100. No real new news except that some ships were supposed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, but I think this week is going to get much more interesting, at least as far as the whole situation is concerned for now. As I said, Bitcoin is initially positive again because of the fake news from Trump. Not really surprising. If we take a closer look at this, we ultimately see, on the one hand, what I warned about yesterday, that open interest has risen sharply by over 11% over the weekend. Now with this drop, it fits quite well that at least we've seen a bit of spot demand coming in. The volume is still very terrible. We still have a large cluster at around $64,100, which is visible on the heat map. Let's take another look at the regular heat map from High Block. Same story, 72K, where there's one big A big cluster at least is in there, and also here at 64K and our old one at 57. But what you can also see is that liquidity is very, very thin, in my opinion, across all markets in general. So the order books everywhere, I don't really like them right now. It's not like I'd say, wow, awesome, a lot of volatility ahead. We have exactly 3 zones that matter this week, which really isn't a lot of volatility, let's be honest. Otherwise, spot order book. Last but not least, don't forget, last night there was a quick 60 million. So that was real at the dip around 64,000 US dollars, or rather 65,000 US dollars. There was some good volume coming in, and since then the market has been pretty dead again. So there's a bit of selling going on again, but nothing massive. We're only at about 10 million at the peak right now. That's not much, but it's also not like we can say, wow, yeah, the volume is back and now it's to the moon. So I'm still not really convinced by the whole thing. Let's wait and see what the next few hours bring, how the futures actually open and how high we can ultimately climb. For me, the first target is 68K and the second target is between 70K and 72K, but personally, I don't see that happening at the moment. Looking over at the altcoins, a glance at Ethereum, there's really not much price action, and here too, this nasty wick, just like with Solana, a nasty wick. And now there's a bit of a recovery here. The price action is still very, very catastrophic, to be honest. I don't like it. No volume, just these wicks, brief market manipulation by Trump again. Technically, nothing has changed, or rather globally, nothing has changed. Oil prices remain high, the Strait of Hormuz is closed, and there's more escalation due to more ground troops over there. The bond markets have indeed dropped slightly, but that's not what's ultimately decisive here, while the carry trade might now also. That will become a somewhat more interesting topic this week. Before we now focus on the Forex markets, or rather gold, silver, Forex, and of course also the stock markets, here's another reminder for you. If you register now with Btc'S within the next 17 days using the link below in the video description, then you still have the chance to grab VIP 2 here, at least for 1 month, a trial month, where you ultimately get lower fees, more options, plus you also get or can also participate in the deposit event at the same time. For example, if you deposit 2,000 USDT, you'll get an additional $300 bonus voucher, which you can use for various things or use it to top up your capital a bit. This goes up to a deposit of 20,000 USDT. This offer is valid for another 17 days and 17 hours. So feel free to sign up using the link below in the video description or in the comments section. So let's move on to gold. What does it look like there? $4,500. Gold is holding up for the overall sentiment, it's holding up relatively well. What I already mentioned in the stream yesterday, and what surprised me a bit, we can update this again here, is that the chance for a rate hike in April is now only at 3.6%. That's a bit suspicious to me, to be honest with you. Also for June and July. No idea why suddenly all of this dropped so much. In my opinion, it's very puzzling. And suddenly for September, there's already a chance that we'll get a rate cut. I don't know what has changed in the last few days. I haven't found any news about it, but as long as the bond markets are this high, it makes absolutely no sense to me. As long as the bond markets don't absolutely drop downwards, a rate hike is still absolutely possible in my view, especially because of inflation, etc. BP. And oil prices are still high. I find it a bit suspicious, but well, for now, gold is benefiting from it and is pumping again, just like silver. For now, it's pumping. As I said, if you're still long from this green zone down here, take profit. Personally, I'm still not in it. Then let's move on. To the Forex markets, let's start with the US dollar, which is also above 100. That's not necessarily a good sign for the stock markets because the more stocks are being sold, we're slowly but surely entering the intervention zone anyway. Speaking of Japan, Japan has finally filled the inefficiency, or rather the yen has filled the inefficiency down here. We even went a little bit lower. So for me, that's another sign for USDJPY. We're also right in the absolute intervention zone here. This will be the next big topic in the coming weeks, especially because I believe in 2.5 weeks we'll have the interest rate decision. Also in Japan, then the traditional markets. That's going to be very, very interesting today. For now, we're seeing green indicators, slightly green indicators for the Dow Jones at least. We'll see if that can hold throughout the day. NASDAQ, basically the same story after a catastrophic week that was really bloody. Now today, another fake move Monday would fit right in my opinion. We definitely need to keep an eye on that. Same story, of course, with the S&P 500, which is starting the new week, slightly positive for now. But, well, we've just had 5 weeks behind us that were absolutely deep in the red. And if this week turns out as expected and Trump really wants to send new troops, The deadline, yes, I think it actually expires in exactly 1 week from now. With the supposed ceasefire, things could get very, very interesting because at the same time, the volatility index is still above 27. It could also go down a bit again over the course of the day. And so even if the markets calm down a bit now, for me, it's still absolutely on an upward trend and doesn't look like things are easing at all. And I also don't think that's necessarily going to change. What I would definitely keep an eye on this week is Nvidia. Take a very, very close look at the stock, watch how it moves, and see whether we get back above our support or if it's just a negative retest. We definitely need to pay attention to that because for me, Nvidia is still the absolute pace setter when it comes to the global stock markets, or more specifically, the US stock markets, in terms of reaching our possible downside targets. Just keep an eye on that. Otherwise, yes, the government bonds, definitely keep them in view. That's still a bit of a key point for me. Number one, because they're just way too high. Way too high for the US, way too high for Trump. Any kind of market manipulation here wouldn't surprise me at all. And of course, also keep an eye on the US dollar at the same time. That's it from my side in any case. We'll hear from each other again tomorrow with a fresh update video. Otherwise, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. And yes, we'll definitely hear from each other again tomorrow. I wish you a great start to the week. Trade it safe. Definitely with a stop loss. That's really, really important to me. And then we'll hear from each other again tomorrow. Until then, ciao, ciao. And as always, stay creepy.